started. So welcome to the Fall PD series. Of course, sorry, now I can't make the recording box go away. Welcome to the Fall PD series for today. And we have on our team, just real quickly, in case you don't recognize us, Christy over on the left. Who's that handsome guy? I know you're here.
Now he's shy. Marshall.
Say hi, Marshall. He's probably muted. All right. Susan, you want to say hi?
That's Marshall
Hi.
Foster.
Hi. Of course I want to
Oh,
say hi.
sorry, there we go. I have 4 million windows that are open. I'm just trying to find which one I was in.
Let's say hi, Marshall.
I know. Hello, everybody.
All right, Susan.
I said hello. It's good to be here. Thanks for letting us join you.
Sally,
Leslie Stocks. Thank you for being with us today. We'll be monitoring the chat, so please add all your questions and comments, and I'll be the one answering in the back scenes.
and Ivana Mantor Anderson. We love having you guys here. We like being a little relaxed because we know we all have probably had a long day. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, and we appreciate you joining us. So for the Fall PD series, a couple of reminders. Session recordings and materials are all available at the bit.ly. Zally has done such an awesome job of bit.lying us on everything and helping us keep up with our recordings. And you can also, please, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, tweet out on social media, hashtag NCLs. You can also find us on Facebook. Anything else you want to add, Zally?
No, I just shared the link, the bit.ly link in the chat. So you will be able to access the archives. We're usually adding in the next couple of days the recording and the slides. So feel free to go back to that bit.ly link and check and share with other people in your district.
Awesome. So today's presentation is Growing Success for ELs Summer Conference Highlights. We're going to find out in just a minute how many of you joined us for the summer conference. So we will have our welcome, a couple of polls, some conference highlights, questions and wrap up, and fall PD series. And probably somewhere in the middle of that, my dog will go off. Sally, you want to tell us a little bit about the WebEx controls?
Sure. So we are using the chat panel only. Maybe in other opportunities you have had other panels, but today you will find participants and the chat. And we also are going to use Mentimeter. We're going to have a couple of polls, and it's super easy. You can either do it on your computer or on your mobile phone. Mentimeter is a tool that is super cool, it's interactive, it's anonymous responses, so don't worry, you can say, feel free to answer anything that you want. It doesn't collect any information, any personal information, and it won't ask you to download an app or register for anything. The only thing that you need to do is type menti.com and then enter the code that we're going to provide, and you will see the different options, select, and then submit. So thank you for joining us.
I think the dog's about to go off. All right. So our first Mentimeter poll, if you go ahead and put in menti.com and enter the code 543678, we want to know who you are, who has joined us today. And I am going to click on the poll and close my door just a second.
So remember, the code is at the top of the screen. The number for this poll is 543678. And you will see the different options: ESL teacher, ESL lead teacher, content area teacher, school administrator, and other. So if you can select one of the answers and then hit submit. Okay.
It's almost like a competition, like a race.
I know. And
other is trying to reach ESL teacher. Right?
So we have 28, we have 28 participants today. And we have 20-second responses, 23. So we have a few more seconds to give a chance to everyone to participate. See, I see 23, super tiny in the corner. That's what I'm.
Mm-hmm.
23. So whenever you want, Ivana, we can close the poll and we continue.
Okay, so if I close the right one, and then, oops, back to the PowerPoint. All right, so a nice mix of people. We always want to encourage more people to come that are content area teachers. So your homework, if you are one of those ESL teachers or ESL lead teachers, your homework this entire school year is when we have one of these webinars to grab, call, coerce some of your content teacher friends to come and join us, because we know that pretty much all teachers are teachers of ELs, and we want to make sure we're getting everybody in on this. So we do want to know how many of you attended the summer conference before, not just this year when it was virtual, but this was our 7th annual Growing Support for ELs conference. So how many of you have attended it in the past? Oh, look at that. Already got 14 responses. The code 4242703, in case you didn't see it large, it's up at the top of the screen now. We want to hear from as many of you as possible. How many have you ever attended one of our summer conferences? We've had 7 of them now.
And again, these answers are anonymous, so just feel free. If you haven't participated, it's okay. We are planning already on our conference for next year, so you're going to learn a lot about it. You're going to be able to check the archives, and hopefully next year you will be able to join us. So it's okay if your answer is no this time, just this time.
And even those of you that attended, if you attended this year, you had the chance to attend more than one session. But in previous years, you only could go to one session for the full 3 days. And so we've often had people asking, well, what happened in the other sessions? And even though the website always has the materials where you can go and pull from and use for yourself, we know a lot of times you don't really have time to do that. And so that's what gave us the idea for today's session, to share with you the great resources that were generated through the summer. So 22 of you have responded. We're at 55 to 45, so about half of you have never been. So we hope you'll be really excited to see the things that we have to offer and all the resources that are there. And then half of you, almost half of you, have been at some point, and we hope that you will see, as you did when you attended, some fantastic resources and ways for us to collaborate across the state. So thank you, everybody, for winning that survey. So the summer conference highlights. So we do have hyperlinked in the slides once they're posted, links to the Growing Success for ELs Summer Conference program, and also to the overview of the different sessions. So you can see just by glancing at this that we had a great lineup with 9 different sessions, a variety of our EL support team trainers, and we're actually going to dig in and go through a couple of slides, actually 3 slides for each of the trainings that were offered this summer, just so that you can have a little idea of what was done. But why do we do this? So we are always working to build capacity across the state to make sure that you have access to research-based strategies to meet the needs of our English learners. And we know that very often those strategies are also what all learners need, just not the English learners. So this summer, with all of the changes going to remote learning, we wanted to make sure that we had a quality conference just as we have in the past. Only this year we spread it out over a month and had sessions where you could actually attend more than one, and they weren't all 3 days long. So our opening session was Simone Wurtenberg. Many of you may know her as an ESL Migrant Education Program Director in Henderson County Public Schools. And her presentation was very invigorating and very thought-provoking about using your voice and how we need to have a positive impact about education, how we as individuals are able to serve our students, not just our English learners, but all students, to have those high expectations, and how we can go about being part of that voice. So that is archived on the website, and you can go back and listen to her presentation. Anybody else from the DPI team want to jump in with anything about the opening session? Wait time is not my best thing, but hopefully that was long enough. So one of the highlights of the conference, and you'll find that I think all of them were highlights, but really one of the highlights of the conference was the opportunity for Lori Pender and Karen Solis to show participants how you can co-teach and co-plan effectively in a remote situation. So Karen lives on the western side of the state, Lori lives on the eastern side of the state. So all of the preparations that were done in quarantine, and were done across the state and virtually. So you can see on the slide one of the comments that came from a participant talking about how wonderful it was to see the co-teaching actually modeled in a virtual setting. You also see a mention of an e-journal, which I'll show you in an upcoming slide, which is a wonderful idea for a way to take notes and to have your participants involved. This was a 3-day session where the trainers actually demonstrated and then had participants working in a co-teaching environment. The things that were talked about were things that could be used when you're back face to face, as well as in a virtual setting. One of the things they talked about was NESIS. We're always looking at ways that we can strengthen our NESIS evaluations, looking at how we can articulate to our administrators the work that we're doing with diverse learners and also with leadership. So these materials are available, and if you want to learn more, especially about the NESIS part, you can take a look. So here's some more of the pieces from this particular training. On day 1, you can see they talked about rationale, relationships, and collaboration, as well as WIDA, which are our standards. Then they really dug deep into co-planning, co-teaching, and the routines, and then co-assessment, leadership support, and reflections. And you can see some of the slides that they had, what co-teaching looks like with or without the collaboration, as well as some non-negotiables that they set, and then looking at, really, you want me to co-teach? But one of the things I loved about this particular training is the e-journal. So the e-journal was set up as a slide deck. And in that slide deck, let me go to present mode real quickly. They had a table of contents that was linked so that you could get to the different pieces of the work for the day. Each of the different pages gave them information. You can see here they had free work where they were asked to do some work on a flip grid. I can't even talk. Flip grid. Handouts and different things were attached, and then they can make a copy of this and actually take their notes and do their work within this document. Again, this is available for you to look at as an example, but also to consider if it's something that you would like to use with your students. So that was one of the exciting pieces of this particular group. Again, using technology, they wanted to make sure that everybody got to know each other, that there was a personal aspect to it. And you can see over on the right, hopefully large enough for you to read, some of the additional comments that came from the group. But the group really bonded, even though it was in a virtual environment and even though it was the middle of the summer. So I'll give you a second to read. So you can see they used Flipgrid, they used Padlet, and one of the comments that they felt like the activities made them feel like they were in person. Breakout rooms were used as part of the WebEx. Some of you heard us talking at the beginning before we officially started about getting used to WebEx as a new system. All of our trainers had to learn WebEx right before going into these presentations. And so one of the exciting things about WebEx was a breakout room. So they had the opportunity to use that. All right, move on to the next one. Zachary, let me know if there are any questions that pop up.
I don't see any questions or comments yet.
Awesome. So many of you know Tim Sims and Alicia Doss. They were the trainers for Acquiring Minds Want to Grow. They did Acquiring Minds Want to Grow during remote learning and then again in the summer. They did a longer version of it in the summer. So this time it was 4 days, and it was an extension of what they had done earlier. You can take a look at all the details that are on this slide, but if you've ever participated in their trainings, they're always looking at how we are working with our brain, and arousal and engaging content is so important to the rewiring of our brain. into locking in our learners' full potential. So everything they do in Acquiring Minds, they're talking about how to work with your brain, the brains of your students, bringing things into context and helping your students really lock into the information. Their day one was back to basics and looking at essentials for growth. Day two got into multiple pathways, which is based on a book by Janet Zadina, and they broke it down into encoding for acquisition and then maintaining practices for teacher and student success. You can see some samples of some of the slides that they had over here, working with different graphics, working with different mnemonics, CPR, concepts are crucial, process over product, and relationship rules. You can also see some of the things they were focused on. They were actually giving help from teachers that were in the classrooms, in the context, working with the same things that their participants were doing, and up-to-date neuroscience based specifically on education. A lot of things went on in that group, but one of the things that was very exciting was the web pages that they created. So for the summer conference, as well as in the fall, they had Acquiring Minds Want to Grow website. So when you go into their web page, you can see the schedule. You can see some of the same quotes. They love talking about arousal within the educational situation. And then, in addition to their contact information, you can see different activities that they did, what happened in their sessions. And again, if you've ever been to anything that Tim and Alicia do, you know they always have door prizes. So they got very creative and figured out ways to have virtual door prizes, things that were hinted at and talked about during the presentations, and then released at the end of each day. So the book that I mentioned a minute ago, Multiple Pathways to the Student Brain by Janet Zadina, is one of the things they link to. Also information by Ken Pransky, another neuroscientist researcher. A lot of different information that you can go back and read. One of the really fun things that we did as a group with the trainers is the brain hat. And you can acquire that in multiple languages. You cut it out, you tape it together, and you can put your brain on and see the different parts of the brain and talk about how the work you're doing triggers different parts of your brain. A lot of other pieces here, I won't go through them all, but you can see that each day has a number of door prizes, and all of these are available to you. Things that you can read, organizations that you can look into, like Carolina TESOL. So a lot of different resources that are available through the links that are included here. So as you can see, one of the feedback pieces that we received was that they were so grateful for so many resources. And we know that so often you get a lot of resources and you're not sure what to do with them. And the wonderful thing about this training was that they had the opportunity to actually go through and really use many of the resources. I don't know how many of our trainers are actually online, but when we get to the end, if there's time, I'd love for the trainers to jump in and share some of their experiences in the conference. Uh-oh, I hit the link again. All right, is that Lee?
Okay, so the next session we had was how to engage EL families during remote learning. And we have transitioned from involvement to engagement, meaning involvement is when you have parents informed about everything that is going on in the classroom. And we have moved to engagement to getting parents, yes, informed, but also being part of the activities, part of those conversations and everything that is going on in the classroom. And Marcita Mahar and Christian Walter, they did an amazing work during the conference, and they had all these different resources for how to support and engage family engagement, but they added that piece about remote learning. They talk about different strategies, opportunities that everyone could use in their districts. And they also said, like, for example, oh, if you feel unprepared, stressed, and in need of support, then that's how parents might be feeling. And they gave a lot of resources on how teachers could make those connections and build those relationships with parents and help them during remote learning. So we have one quote from one of the participants on this slide. It says, "This was an amazing conference. I learned a lot. conference hosts were very knowledgeable. And that's true. Marcita and Christian, they are so passionate about this topic and they share everything that they do. Marcita is one of our lead teachers in the state, in the East region. Yay! And Christian, he's in the Western region and he's an assistant principal in a middle school. So they talk about how they have worked in their school districts. They share not only their knowledge, but also their expertise, what they have experienced, what they knew was working with their districts, and they wanted to share this. If we go to the next slide, we have a few more quotes about this training, and they also created a website, and it's fantastic, the amount. I don't know if you have it open, Ivana, but in their website they had plenty of resources, and the bit.ly is bit.ly/engage website. I'm going to add it to the chat in a minute, but you will go there and you will see the different folders they created. They have the participant slides with all the different presentations that they shared during those days in the conference, and they had Padlets for questions, but they also had resources in these Padlets and the workshop materials. They have resources for families, resources for teachers, things that you can learn to learn more about how to engage your families, and then the resources that you can use to start actually engaging your families. So we really invite you to go and explore that website. And I'm going to share that link in a minute, but it's just fantastic. And they got like a lot of people saying it was engaging, participative. There were a lot of artifacts created during the session. And the participants, they created a plan. They started working on their plan, how they were going to incorporate the resources they were learning. So that's something they already work on. It was not just like, okay, we have all these resources, as Ivana was saying, is how we can really implement and start using them. Maybe not all of them, but at least getting one and making sure that you are implementing that one in your school district to benefit, in this case, your families. So by the end of the session, participants share these artifacts, and those had been shared in the website. So if you want to explore, go there and see how those participants decided to create their plans and think this is what maybe I will do during remote instruction to support families, then you will have some ideas on how to incorporate the other resources. But it's just fantastic. It's so many. And when they created the website, we were like, wow, because it's a lot of information, but you will love that. And it's very simple, right to the point, something they have used, and is, as we said, based on their experience. And then we have a few more quotes. The participants were really grateful about all the resources. They said they were very helpful. The content was very helpful. The resources shared are excellent, and I'm so happy to have access. Thank you for sharing their expertise. And as I said, and if you have the chance, we have the video recordings for all the sessions available. So please go and check, because you can see, and even if you have to skip some sections so you go to the point where you really want to listen, you will see their passion about this topic.
I
So
was going to try to open it for you, but I'm not being successful. Sorry.
no worries. And we can continue with the next one, Ivana, so we make sure that we can cover all the different topics. And we have shared in the chat the different links. So just please feel free to go and check and explore. And the next session we had was, what do access scores mean? And Carolyn Fry and Lani Simpson, they had three different sessions by grade level. So they had elementary, secondary, and they offer a newbie, ESL newbie, for those new teachers. And they were talking about access scores. Once somebody starts working with English learners, they said, okay, these are your access scores. But sometimes they don't know what those are, what they need to do. How do they integrate that into instruction? So these two trainers, they talk about this. What is the meaning of this? How can we use access scores? And they focus on the proficiency levels. So they talk about what does it mean to be in level 1, level 2, 3, 4, up to 6, because we know the WIDA proficiency levels go from 1 to 6. So they talk about that. They talk about the scores in the different grade levels, and also the different opportunities that you have once you understand what the scores are and how you can help your students by using the scores, how you can share those scores with content area teachers and administrators, other people in the building that interact with your students. So these sessions were really good as well. And they offer a follow-up session where participants have the opportunity to ask questions. And you, if you go and explore the archives, you will have access to all these recordings as well. And we have a couple of quotes on the screen. It says, I really enjoyed your PD so much, so that I am including the Access Students Course Classroom profile. Oh, and they talk about the profile. So that really helps you. If you have one student and you have their profile, then you can see the scores, but then just having numbers doesn't really mean much. But then how you can start adding information that describe how your student is and what is the plan to help them progress in the proficiency level. So that's really neat what they share. And Lani is passionate about this. We love how she has worked with access data, and I know she works with our super guru, Susan Walls, and they collaborated on this as well. So if we go to the next slide, there are a few more samples of quotes. And some screenshots of what they were sharing. And they talk about the different language, the vocabulary that the students need to know in each level. So they provided examples, like if a student is in emerging level, what does it mean in terms of language? How is their writing? How is their speaking? And as they start progressing in the ladder, if they go up to level 6, then what does change in their production? So you will see those examples. There are different topics for different content areas, and they provided those different samples where you have very basic content and vocabulary, and then you go up to very technical and specific vocabulary of that content area. And they also talk about different strategies that you can use and some tools that you can implement. They talk about the tool that has been shared, but accountability, where you can see what are the goals for your school. And then based on that, you can also start helping your students. And it's more like how you learn about access data and how you can interpret that to your parents and to your administrators, because then if you have them and they understand this, then they can, any effort that they have now will support your students, and everyone will be like working for the same, with the same goal in mind. So that's something that we really love about these sessions. And the last slide about this, if you, let me see, there you go. That is the link. And as we said, every session has shared the presentations. They have shared folders with all the materials. They have websites, the Google Slides. But if you have the main link that is bit.ly NCL's 20 materials, then you can focus on just going there. We have listed all the resources, and then you can go and explore. But this one, I think, is still, let me see, I see it's loading on my end, Ivana.
It's on.
There you go. So we have some strategies that they share, and this document is fantastic because it shows some strategies to help you scaffold. So when you're talking with your content area teachers about classroom modifications, like what does that mean? So this document helps you with that and say, okay, these are things that we can do in our instruction to help our students. And then everyone, if we share these kind of documents and the profile, then everyone is speaking the same language, and we get that, then everyone is helping the students improve their language. So that's something really good. And all the different resources that they share. And what else do we have for this one, Ivana? I think that's it. And I may give it to Susan if she wants to talk about the next session.
You still with us, Susan? You want to talk about Glimpse of Glad?
I think she had to leave for her appointment.
Okay.
Yeah, but Glimpse of Glad, if you want me to talk about it, Ivana, is another initiative that we have in the state, and it's been really strong in the West, and now we have worked really hard to bring it to the East. And these trainers are fantastic. They are Tier 3 certified. What is the new name? Because I know that has been updated, Ivana. Do you remember what Tier
Now,
3 is
tier one is
called?
now foundation,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not sure what tier two and three. They're just
Yeah.
mega gurus of GLAD.
They are girls. Yeah, they are our NC gladiators. That's how we call them. And Laura Van Camp and Crystal Jasapski. I hope I'm not mentioning her last name. But Chrissy, they both are fantastic and they love this methodology so much. And GLAD is a collection of strategies that help your students progress in their language. So what they have done with the Glimpse of GLAD is GLAD has 150 different strategies that might help your instruction, and they decided to collect and work on with seven of those strategies. And they have, during the Glimpse of GLAD, they offered these strategies, they provided samples, and they help the participants work on their process grids. So the process grid is the participants select a content area, because and we love GLAD because it could work with co-teaching and with SIOP, with other, it goes with other methodologies and helps you. And if you are the ESL expert and you can work with a content area expert, that will be fantastic for your ELs. So if you want to explore this, that's a really good resource to have. And I think we don't have these archives available, but we are working and we have a plan for next year and the next semester to be able to offer more of these opportunities. And we have offered this face to face. Then during the spring and during the summer, we offer these virtually, but we're going to have a hybrid option now, in which we have some offline work and then some online work with our trainers. So we're really excited about that switch and how we can continue building capacity and getting more teachers trained on GLAD. So they talk about GLAD, they share. We have some comments on the slides. And one says, I enjoy learning about GLAD strategies and how to apply them to co-teaching and pull out instruction during remote learning. Then we can make the curriculum stronger for ELs in North Carolina if we work together to develop strong instructional materials to share. And that's fantastic. I love that quote. Then one takeaway was that intentionality is linked to lesson purpose. And that's what is GLAD. It helps you organize. It's a protocol that is organized to help you integrate content. It's content-based. So you can see the progression. You really evidence in one semester with your ELs when they are starting learning the content, and then they learn the vocabulary, they start producing at different levels and master the technical vocabulary. You see that progress. So it's just fantastic. So once we stay tuned, we're going to share, once we offer this option, you will be able to access all the materials, because we have a requirement by copyright that you have to be trained, participate in this training before you can access the materials, and we can help you and coach you in creating more activities and materials based on these initiatives. So we have our two awesome trainers. They say we enjoyed co-presenting Glimpse of GLAD together again. They offer, I think this was the third or fourth session that we offer, Ivana.
I think it was the fourth.
So we really love it, and all the participation and information that we were able to share. So stay tuned, and we're going to have a private group for everyone who has been trained on GLAD, Glimpse on GLAD, or the foundations, to be able to share those materials and resources and see the videos that we're working on and all that information that is so powerful for our English learners. And I
would
think
just say
that's it.
too, when you go into the materials and you look at the Padlet, they called it Information Central. And so working collaboratively, but working online, the Padlet was a huge tool for them. You can maybe see in the picture that at the top of the different columns of the Padlet, sometimes they had topics that people would then go in and write things under there to keep it organized. So they were our groundbreakers. They were our first group to go virtual. And so we learned a lot through their work. So yeah, great performance at class. So the next session that we have was SIOP. SIOP has been around in North Carolina for quite some time, and we had Reve Bostwick and Alicia Reed both working with us on the SIOP. So you can see some of the quotes there. I wish this session was available to content teachers. I think they mean they wish it was required for content teachers because it is available. And as I said earlier, all of you on here, we want to encourage you to bring some content teachers along when you look at these materials and when you talk about the ways that we can serve our English learners. So the course overview with SIOP, many of you are familiar with the SIOP model and sheltered instruction. You can see toward the bottom of the screen that they also really looked at the NESIS evaluations and how working with the SIOP can help strengthen what you're able to show and do in the classroom and then articulate in your evaluation. SIOP has a new logo some of you might not have seen, or a new look. Day one, they looked at the overview and second language acquisition as well as lesson preparation. So they got into some background behind SIOP and then into the first component. Day two worked on the delivery, the background building, the comprehensible input, and the strategy. So a lot of things put in there. And then day three was interaction, practice and application, and review and assessment. They did a lot of very interesting things. You can see in the top picture how they talked about good teaching and SIOP, and then what comes together with both. So it's kind of an H chart instead of what you're used to seeing with the rings. But you can see that, oh my gosh, look how much of it is both. SIOP was built on the concepts of good teaching. They had some fun activities where, guess what? Now you have to talk, but you can't use the letter T. I don't know if any of you have done that activity, but it puts you in the shoes of a newcomer struggling to find a word because you realize the words you want to use don't work. And so it's just a quick activity, but a powerful activity that was often used in our SIOP training. And then you see a little bit more, some quotes from John Hattie. Teacher effectiveness and teacher talk are inversely related. So looking at how things work together. You can also see here what the participants said they hope to gain from the training. And once again, regular or content classroom teachers come up again. Many people who are in the EL position want to be able to support and coach the content teachers, but how much more powerful if we even have the content teachers in the training so they can do things like in the bullet down here, strengthen academic language for all their students. So again, you have access to all these materials, the PowerPoints, the notes. You can take any of these and adapt them to work within your own context. Lee, back to you.
Okay, and before I talk about this session, I have shared the links. The bit.ly NCL's 20 materials will take you to the website, the webpage with all the archives for all the sessions. But then some of you were asking, where is this specific topic? So what I've been doing is direct link, but it will take you to the same page, but it's exactly to that section in which you will find co-teaching, acquiring minds, family engagement, and access. And somebody asked Ivana for the GLAD materials, and we won't be able to share these publicly. We only share these materials with those who have completed a glimpse of GLAD or Foundations, the former Tier 1. So again, as we said, stay tuned. We're going to offer more sessions in a blended format. So just stay tuned and you will be able to access and then join the group to be able to see the other materials and all the information.
And just one clarification is because of the trainers and their contracts with OCDE, the materials that the trainers have generated cannot be shared publicly. But one of the things we're working on is some opportunities for those who have been trained to come together and to share the materials they have created. And those will eventually all be shared with all of you having access to that. So just know there's some specifics we have to work around and work through in order to make sure that we are being true to agreements that are out there. But thank you for your interest. It's exciting.
Yes, we love that. Well, this session with Elena Shilova-Guy and Anthony Nesbitt is Digital Prescription for 2020 Vision of SIOP. So they talk about different tools, digital tools that are being used during remote learning, and they talk about the connections and why we have, for example, they focused this session on 3 of the SIOP components. It was the, let me see, if I for comprehensible input, interaction, and
BB,
okay,
building background.
the first one, yeah, the most important one. There you go. You see my poor brain. It's what time is it? It's 4:10. So building background, comprehensible input, and interaction. And each day was focused on one of these components. And then they show different digital tools that might help you if you are working on building background, what digital tools will help you accomplish this. And they share, we have very tiny, let me see, is I have my screen super tiny. I think I need glasses, Ivana. So, some of the quotes from some of the participants, we have a lot of participation. People were really excited. We have technology is awesome. Teachers are better. Yes. We have blending new technologies into instruction is a non-negotiable if we are to help our students gain the skills they'll need to thrive in careers. And so 2 is educators' old school wisdom in planning intentional blended learning that works. So the main goal was showing how important is to integrate technology, but never lose track of our main goal, that is the content. Our students need to learn the content and they need to learn the language to be able to demonstrate that they master the content. And then we can use technology to help the students accomplish that goal and to help us teachers help them. So it's they based their session on a book. The book is Bold School and the SIOP with all the components. And the Bold School talks about the ABCD quadrant, the technology used by quadrant. And then they talk about it. And this is very similar to other models that we have talked in the past in other sessions. For example, SAMR and TPAC. But now this is kind of like the review version because it's focusing on the content and helping the learners through the technology and not just teaching the use of the technology. So it's more technology is a tool, is not the end goal. And they have different sessions. We have, they had samples of how to integrate the different tools. They had, for example, pre-work, and in the pre-work they were using tools that they wanted teachers or participants to be able to play with so they could then integrate it in their classrooms. And they talk about how those tools will help them accomplish the 3 components of SIOP. So we have, if we go to the next slide, I think we have some more quotes. Okay. So we have some quotes. They said they were so knowledgeable. I was very impressed. And they're fantastic. Anthony and Elena, they're really good with technology. And we were really excited that they wanted to integrate SIOP and give that message that our end goal is language, content is learning, and then how technology is helping us accomplish all that. So another quote says, I like that we were able to see examples of a lot of different tech tools. And yes, they were really good. And this, I'm going to share the direct link in a few minutes. And you can access all these. And they have also the recordings. They have samples. They talk about different options. They talk about copyright and how important it is, maybe for educators, because we think that it's only our classroom. We don't pay attention to that a lot. But now that we are in the online world, we really need to take care of what we're doing, what we're sharing, and how we're sharing it, and how we help our students learn about this digital citizenship. How is it that you behave online? How do you share content online? What kind of content are you sharing? And they also talk about FERPA, the federal law that protects the students' records and personal information, and COPA, that is specific to online information that is shared. So they were very mindful of this, like, okay, we have all these tools, but it's the first step for a teacher is you talk to your IT people in the school district because they have done this research before. So they will tell you, oh, we can use all these tools. Our students and families are safe. So they also talk about this, I think, during the third session. So if you want to go and learn a little bit more these laws and what you can do with copyright, then you will see all that information as well.
And I just have to say, they had the coolest title. I really, inquiring minds want to grow was my number one, and it's still fighting with that for digital prescriptions of the 2020 vision of PSYOP. It's some real creative titles, and we hope that caught your attention as well. Awesome. So we've got one more to tell you about, and then we'll have a little bit of time if some of our trainers are online to share about their experience, and also for you guys to share with us if you've taken the courses, what you learned from them, or if you haven't had a chance to take the courses, what sounds good to you today. So the last session was not officially part of our conference, but there's so much going on in the state that we had to lend out one of our trainers, Deborah Wilkes, to work with CTE. She has a long-standing relationship working with our CTE programs. And as you know, when you get to the high school level, many of our ELs end up in the CTE programs. And so Deborah was able to go in and work at the CTE conference to do a presentation on the can-do for English learners, working with PSYOP and also working with WIDA, and how those can be incorporated into our CTE classrooms to help, again, support our ELs, but to help support all students. So as you can see from the quotes, best presentation today in the middle of their conference, and then they really appreciated the practical and immediately usable resources. And that's such an important part of what we do, is we want you, even today, to be able to go pull up some of these resources and be able to go use them tomorrow. So Deborah shared a lot of different kinds of tools, a few more quotes. Tools were awesome, but the great idea is not just here's a bunch of tools, how can you use the tools? And so they drilled down into how do you pre-teach vocabulary and background building through PSYOP? How do you dig into the CTE specific things like looking at the stock market or job applications, really getting into how do you use the tools to accomplish the things that you're going to be doing in your particular classroom. So you can see here a lot of different things they did. You can see an example of some of the technology that was used to quiz people to see whether or not they are understanding the materials, looking at some of the documents that already existed with the language diversity in North Carolina, the objectives. We know we're talking about PSYOP, you got to have your language objectives and your content objectives. And then you can see here also access directly to the materials that were used. So if any of you are working with CTE, this is a great way to really look at how to bring PSYOP into what's happening in those classrooms. So we do have a shout out to Kristen Mills. Many of you know Kristen as one of our trainers. She stayed behind the scenes during the entire conference, really helping with technology and helping run things. A number of our other trainers helped as well, but she chose not to train so that she could totally focus and support the team. She works as a facilitator for the team as well as one of our trainers. Again, you can see the bit.ly for how to access the materials. And let me just go back to that because we'll come to that in a minute. So hopefully I'm able to actually unmute people if people would like to type in the chat box. I know that Alicia Das and Marcita Mahar, two of our trainers, are online, but I also know that they are at school, multitasking, wearing masks. And at this point, I don't know if they'll be able to unmute and join us in an effective manner, but you keep seeing me look down at my cell phone to see if I hear from them that they are in a position where they could talk. I'd love to hear from anyone here that is interested in sharing your experience with the conference this year or an experience with the conference in years past, but especially this year as we went to remote, or something that looked really intriguing to you that you want to know more about. So I've got my panel up where I can unmute people. Are you able to watch the chat box, Sally, and let me know if there's someone who'd like to be unmuted?
Yes, I want to be unmuted.
Okay, you're unmuted. Go, Sally. And I think Marshall and Susan probably both had to drop off at this point. They were very involved. Marshall supported some of the trainings. Susan supported some. We split it up amongst the team so that we really have the opportunity to all be involved in what we're doing with the professional learning across the state. We have any volunteers that are willing to jump in there and share with us what they've learned, what they want to learn?
I don't see anything in the chat for now.
Okay.
Maybe we can share something. Let me see. Nope, nothing yet.
Well, I will just say tomorrow, I'm very excited to be able to share this information along with information about the remote learning materials that we were able to post, and also this particular webinar series with a group called the National Association of English Learner Program Administrators. And tomorrow they're doing a webinar just for people that are in the state positions with the Office of English Language Acquisition and the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, coming on and sharing some things with the state leaders in the same roles that Marshall and Susan and Zatley and I are in. And then there'll also be some other speakers. The State Department in Virginia will be talking about the professional learning they've been doing. Our work here in North Carolina is being highlighted. There's someone, I think Colorado is talking about identifying English learners during this time. It's just a wonderful opportunity for state leaders to get together with our federal counterparts and with each other to hear about things that are going on. And so I'm excited to get to be one of the presenters and to get to share about the work we've been doing here in North Carolina. So that will be happening tomorrow for our state leaders. Do we have anybody yet? Because I'd hate to have to call names like Jesse Lodel to see if they're
I
willing
know,
to
right?
talk.
I don't see anything in the chat yet. I'm going to share maybe something really good. We have extended our sponsorship application window until September 25th. So I just shared the direct link. We have a bit.ly, but I know you want to go straight to the point. So we have shared, we have the webinar recording, we have the slide deck with all the information and the application link. So please sign up. And Ivana said before, if you have participated in one of these events, please invite somebody else. The same for the sponsorships. If you have attended, great, apply. This is an opportunity for you, but also invite other colleagues, ESL teachers, dual language teachers, your world language teachers, content area teachers, your administrators. We have opened this semester the sponsorships. We have virtual events, and we are open to sponsor everyone that wants to support English learners. And also we have one specific event. It's on a Saturday, October the 10th, with Carolina Teasel. They have planned Pathways to Greatness for Newcomers. And we have Valentina Gonzalez, and we are sponsoring this event. So please go and check, go to the link and get all that information so you can apply for this opportunity. Apply.
And I'm not sure if if the newsletter went out today on the listserv yet or not, but that information is also in the listserv, on the listserv ESL update. Can't even get my words out now. The September ESL update newsletter should have gone out today on the listserv. And that information is in there as well.
And it's shared, yeah, somebody shared it. One of the network leaders shared the link on our Facebook group. So if you want to join the Facebook group as well, please do it. I think we have a comment, Ivana, in the chat.
Okay.
Let me see what we got. It says, I was able to attend digital prescription to SIOP. I also attended Acquiring Minds Want to Grow in the spring. Both excellent courses. I have attended some of the others in the past as well. That was Jessie. You see, you called her out and she just added a comment. We love her. Then we have from Amanda.
She talked. That's great.
We have from Amanda. I love the SIOP course this year. I didn't have a clue how to present SIOP digitally, and the workshop helped me greatly. So thank you.
We do have a SIOP piece coming up in October. I guess I should know when it is because I'm helping present it, but we do have another SIOP piece coming up in October, sort of an overview, and we'll be looking at some technology within that one as well. SIOP is something people are always asking for. Anything else? I don't want to keep them on just because we say we're going to 5. You want to talk a little bit about the Fall PD series?
Okay, so we have the next 2 sessions while you get some more comments in the chat. So please add comments. we have the next session is a webinar series with WIDA. So if you register for this, we have a limit participation for this. Only 40 teachers will be able to attend. And we have 3 different sessions. Ivana has been sending emails. So if you are one of those that registered, you should have received an email from her asking you to confirm your participation, because we don't want to miss to lose any of the spots. So if for some reason you won't be able to join and you register, please make sure that you reply to Ivana's email saying that you won't be able to participate. And if you can participate,
No,
join. No, I'm
don't
crazy.
reply to my email. Click the link in the email. So if you are one of the 40
Oh, there you
people,
go. Oopsie.
you are one of those. It's okay. If you're one of the 40 people that did get in, then please reply to the link either to say you're coming or you're not. Those of you that are on the wait list, as people alert us that they're not coming, we will bring people in on the wait list. And one of the things we've been doing, I'd say for the last year maybe, is just we are keeping a list of people who sign up for things and then don't come or don't contact us to let us know why they're not coming, because we pay for each of these spots. And so if there's a trend of someone not showing up for things and not alerting us, there is the possibility that people will not be allowed to take those spots in future training. And so we just want you to know that it's important. It's important to us, when we can open something to everybody, like we've been able to do with a lot of the TDs virtually, then that's wonderful. If you can't make it, we understand. But when we're limited to only 40 people across the entire state and we're paying for those 40 slots and people habitually don't come, it does become an issue for us using our money correctly. And so, but yes, please, if you are someone who was accepted for either of those WIDA courses, please use the link, or I just have to send you an email that says, please use the link. But
Yes.
we're really
So
excited.
reply to Ivana's
We're
email.
really excited that the courses, the 2 WIDA courses not only filled up, but have a wait list. And that just tells us a lot about your desire to learn, and especially learn from our WIDA trainers. So sorry to interrupt you, but please don't email me.
Email her just saying that she's awesome, and then click on the link to
There
the
you go.
form. So that first workshop that we have with WIDA starts in September. So you should have received that email and follow the directions in the email. Please don't listen to me. And then the next session that is part of the Fall PD series is the Family and Community Engagement. And Marshall Foster is going to be the lead for this session. We're going to all again support, but he's going to share more information based on the webinar series we offer during the spring. Then the 2 sessions we had in the 2 summer conferences last year and this year, and he will add those pieces of Title III and Title I so you can learn. So if you're an administrator or a lead teacher, then you have more information on how the law, the federal law and guidance is supporting those efforts in engaging your family. So that session is September 29th, and is on Tuesday. It's on a Tuesday at 3:30, the same time. So please join. That one doesn't have a limit. So if you haven't registered, you can go to our PD series page and you can register and join us for that session as well. What else, Ivana? I think
Well,
those are the 2 sessions we have.
yeah, but just to go ahead, and I'm just going to jump down to the next one because we have a new course, DLI Administrator Modules. It's also limited to 40 participants. And what you don't see here is that Dr. Joan Lachance from UNC Charlotte is the person who will be leading these modules. So some of you may, if you're involved in the language immersion programs, you may have been involved in the modules that we did for teachers and central office. This is specifically designed for administrators. And so we're very excited. She's previously was a member of our support team, and she is working on a number of other projects and had to step down, but she is coming back as a guest trainer. And so we're very excited about that one. Anybody else put something in the chat? We've got a very quiet group this afternoon. I know they're all tired.
I know. I have one more comment. I have attended the SIOP in my district as well. Then we had a question. I don't know if Jessie, Amanda, or Marielle want to be unmuted and answer this question because it was to them who participated in one of the sessions. But this question is, what was the most helpful part of the digital description of SIOP? So if one of them wants to be unmuted, please just type in the chat and Ivana will unmute you. We have a question. It says, are all the virtual learning resources and tools for SIOP available on the ESL NCDPI website? The SIOP for the summer conferences. So I don't know if you want to unmute Sweta, if she wants to be unmuted and ask her question. Because if it's all the resources we have been talking about, yes, they are in the website and we have shared the link. So let us know if you want to be unmuted and ask your question. It's 4:30. So let me see.
We're scheduled to go to 5, but we are not going to keep you if we don't have people wanting to participate. So we totally understand that you are tired, you've worked hard, but we just really wanted to share with you every year when we do the conference, we share all of the materials. Part of the beauty of Title III is that anything designed with our Title III dollars is to be shared. And so we always share these materials on our website. They're always available for you to download, to adapt them to your own environment, use them however you want to. But so often we know they're there and people just don't have the time or the energy to dig through them. So we wanted to do a little bit of the digging for you today so that you can go, oh, I really like that. And then you can go to the website and drill straight down into that. And let's say you're interested in SIOP, you can go back to all the different years of the conferences and pull things from different presentations that we've done over the years. All of those things are available. If there's a topic we did in the past that we didn't do this year, like the making, what was it? We had demystifying writing was something we did one year. Those materials are all there as well.
Yeah, and I'm sharing the link to the page with the archives again so you can access, because she says it's referring to the conference, the summer conference. So yes, you will find there all the different archives for the SIOP sessions and the ones with digital tools. So you have all those resources available. And I see Amanda answered the question to what was the most helpful, this keeps jumping, part of the digital prescription of SIOP. And she says the different ways we were engaged during the presentation, the polls and other activities.
Great.
And then we have Jessie also answered the question. It was all of the different resources. Sometimes it can be overwhelming though. And yes, that's why we say we have so many resources that we really don't know which one should be the one we need to try first. But just pick one and make sure that one helps you accomplish your goal. Don't change your goals, your learning and teaching goals because of the tool. Is the opposite. So I just focus on picking 1 and 2 and really learning about them. So thank you, Jessie. Is that you don't need to master every single tool and try them all. Just pick one that you think your students might be useful. And we learned that with family. Now that we have been talking about the summer conference sessions with family engagement, some people talk about different tools that are there, have been used for some talking points, Remind, different apps to make those communications with the parents because they offer translation. But somebody said something and said, well, my families, all of them already use WhatsApp for communication. So instead of using one of those, I decided to use WhatsApp because they were already familiar with that one. It wasn't integrated, a new tool for them. It was something that was part of their daily day. So they just added me and then we were communicated. And then I use Google Translate and Microsoft Translator to be able to translate into languages. So that's really important that you choose one or two. And the idea is that that makes your life easier, and that communication with your teachers, your content area teachers, your families, and your students.
And you mentioned you were looking at the chat and how it was kind of jumping, and that was one of the things that we learned. A lot of our trainers used Padlet, and they did it for several reasons. One, depending on which version of WebEx you're in, sometimes participants can't see what other participants are typing like you guys can today. So by using the chat, the person that was training and watching the chat was trying to keep up with it, jumping all over the place. Others couldn't see what were being typed. And so it was like, oh, let's use this other app. And then we could organize it ahead of time with headers for the specific things we were going to talk about. People could go into that. They could see what other people were typing. it gave us an archive of what happened in the particular training. And the trainers then weren't trying to jump all over looking at this little tiny chat box, and chat could be reserved for people who were having technical difficulties. And then they could be, they wouldn't be lost in the strand, and technical difficulties could be addressed right away. So as you're working online, you can think about, yes, it's another tool, but it's a tool that made things better for the participants. It made it better for the trainers. And actually, it makes it better for you all, because now there's those archived Padlets that you guys can go back and look at that you wouldn't have if just the chat box had been used. So we decided that having it as a benefit to 3 different groups of people was worth having that extra link that people had to work with. And we took time in the trainings to go back and say, remember the Padlet? Let's look at the Padlet. Here's the link to the Padlet again, just like Zatley's been popping the links into the chat box, and they're on the slides as well. Many times we keep the links on the bottom of our slides so that you have that to look at as well. So think about ways to use the technology to really enhance what it is that you're doing, and think about the different audiences that you have and how those can be used. Any other comments?
We have one more comment. It says, we appreciate everything this awesome team has done to help all EL teachers, new or veteran, add to our toolbox.
Awesome. And in return, now all of you help us get more content teachers involved so they can have the toolbox as well. We really are looking at additional ways for us to advertise to content areas. We even tried in this series to have things that were specifically for content teachers, and the EL teachers kept signing up anyway, which is great that you guys are enthusiastic. But we really, really want to keep bringing in content area teachers and building that capacity there as well. So you may find out that there's trainings that you haven't heard about because they only went out on the math listserv, or they only went out on the ELA listserv and things like that. We're going to get tricky. So, well, I think if we don't have other comments, let's go ahead and wrap it up and give everybody a little bit of extra time in their day.
I don't see any more comments. Just thank you. Thank you. You are wonderful. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you do, everyone, and for joining us, because we know we all are tired and we started with this. We really appreciate your time joining us today, and we really love what you do, because we know you are the ones that advocate. You are our front lines. You're always there, and we are here trying to support you, but you're the ones that are doing the really hard work. So we really appreciate you all. So thank you. And please check, and again, just share every single opportunity that we have offered, content that we have shared. Share with content area teachers, with your administrators. The more the merrier is what you guys say. And is if you have more people informed about the different opportunities and how to support English learners, then your job is easier. You don't have to be the only one in your building or your district working for those students. You will have more people helping you. So please share.
And I just want to say thank you to the DPI staff for all the support of these trainings, and thank you to the EL support team. The EL support team, I think you guys know, they are teachers, lead teachers, administrators. They're all people out in the field working just like you are to meet the needs of our English learners. So don't know if you noticed, but in this fall PD series, you don't see any of them training. So we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to really get back into the school year, get back into their roles, serve their populations, and not feel responsible for doing professional learning around the state. So the DPI team said, let's tout all the great work they're doing, let's support the field ourselves, and we are working on our plan to how to bring the EL support team back into service for the end of this semester and into next semester. Still a lot of unknowns, so those of you that are used to requesting services from the support team, just know we're working on it, but we really want to respect their needs in this different time. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn off the recording.